another episode of Meet the Pros. I'm Katie and I'm here at Ecamm Live headquarters. Sorry that I'm running a bit late. I was apparently restreaming out to my personal account, so anyone that wants to check those out later, feel free to join in. We are really excited to be here today with Diana Gladney. She is a small business and video marketing coach, and her passion is to help entrepreneurs like all of you out there watching, and certainly us here, share their vision using video. She's created over 500 videos, so I'm sure has all kinds of fun stories about crazy things that have happened to her. And she's reached over 250,000 views on YouTube, helping entrepreneurs simplify the video creation process to create deeper connections with their audience. So we're really excited to have you on, Diana. Here we go again.
You, yeah, hey, the second time is the best time.
Second time is the best time. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We are now officially live. I see 3 people watching, so
okay.
Thank you to everyone out there for putting up with us being a few minutes late. So I gave an intro, but obviously we'd love for you to introduce yourself officially and let us know how long you've been making videos for and what you really love about video marketing.
Oh, for sure. Again, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm so thankful. I love Ecamm. I'm a big fan, so I'm trying not to gush too much while I'm
gush
here.
Away.
Okay. So, goodness, I guess I would say my video just journey started like in 2016. So I hired my business coach, and like I was not the girl to take photos. I thought like the selfie stick was silly and just like, what are these people doing? It's like 80 million people behind you, got this little bitty thing up or whatever. And so like I was not that person, but to do it for like coaching businesses and stuff like that and to just start getting visible, he's like, you got to do video. So I was like, okay. So I started with my phone, like many of us have and still do, for a lot of stuff. So I started with my phone. And the more I started to like watch YouTube videos and the more I started to watch like other people do like these better looking videos, and I'm like, well, what are they doing? Because clearly they're not using the free phone you get at T-Mobile or something. It's like something's different here. And so like just like Googling a ton of stuff and asking questions to myself like, how do they get the background blurry, or how do you get it to look like this or whatever? Just kind of introduced me into more cameras. And when I bought my first DSLR camera, Canon T5i, I love Canon cameras. And so it's just like when I first got that one, I was just like, okay, now I have the camera and it still doesn't look the same. So what do I need to do here? And just like just continuing to ask a bunch of questions to myself and just literally search for the answers, just kind of developed and morphed into this whole like passion around video. And then like I really understood like it's not just for you and what you're doing, which is why I initially started to do videos. It became like, there's really something here, whether it's a nonprofit, whether you're a small company or a restaurant or whatever. Everybody has some message, something as to the reason why you started doing whatever it is that you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I just really started to see how important video became when it came to marketing your business in general. And so I just started teaching what I was learning in a way that made sense to me, because either you would have people that are like way up here and they're photographers or like cinematographers. And I'm like, I'm not trying to go to Warenberg theaters at all. Like, I just want to make a nice, simple video. And so I started speaking to it from that level, and it just apparently started to resonate with a lot of people that were in that same thing. And like I said, it just kind of took on a life of its own. And now, fast forward, I have my own video editing and production company. I travel a lot working with like a lot of my favorite mentors and brands and stuff. And it's just kind of like mind blowing to like go from knowing nothing to, like here we are. So that's just like my little fast forward story of what happened and just kind of how I got here. And yeah, so I'm just like, it's been a journey, but I love it.
That's awesome. I think one of my absolute favorite things is that kind of desire when you see something else and you're like, wait, how are they doing that? And you can end up down this beautiful rabbit hole where you're just learning something new and figuring it all out for yourself. And I think it's really it's exciting, especially with video, and especially with live video. I feel like so often it's cool because it's right there, and so you can see that they're able to do it, and kind of being able to figure out exactly how people do what they do is really cool.
Yeah.
We have the Ecamm Live community, and one of the things that I really love being able to see there is the kinds of questions people are asking each other, and when people are posting, images or video clips and showing off, all the different things. There's so much you can do with it, so it's really cool to be able to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've been at it for a bit. What drew you to the live video side of things? So was it just YouTube in general?
No, it was really just like same thing. It was like the ability to, it's only so much that you can do with a produced video. And I think a lot of times a produced video gives a perception that may not be true. Like you don't know how janky the setup is until you see the janky setup and you like that produced that look, and it's just like, what is going on here? Yeah. And so it's like, I didn't want to seem like so up here with things that I maybe have just learned or just put to work. So live video lets you come down to here. Even if your skill level is up there or whatever, it's fine. But it just let me have the ability to start communicating one-to-one. And then too, regardless as to whatever it is, the level of personability that you get with just like one-to-one connecting with people live, answering their questions right now. They get to see you in real time, not what maybe what seems like a produced joke, or you cut the bits out where you stuttered over trying to say somebody's name or a word or whatever. They see your quirks. They see when you mess up. They see what you do when you do those things. And it's like, oh, me too. Or like, oh, that's me. And when I just would join a lot of live streams on YouTube, I was like, I want that same thing for the community that I'm building and I'm developing. So I started with the same web camera I have now. It's not what I'm using at the moment, but same web I literally use on a weekly basis, the Logitech C920, awesome. Legendary web camera of the world.
That's the one we recommend. Yep.
Yeah. It's just like, so I'm like, if you can start there with a USB microphone and a USB camera and get those same kind of results, I was like, that's what I want. And I knew I wanted to just kind of like keep working at it, keep getting better at it, keep connecting, and just keep showing up through the same way I would, see people that I respected do live streams. So I just started doing it. And at first, nobody's showing up. And sometimes even still, it's just like you may get a few people, but it's not about the width so much as to how far reaching it is. It's just, I think live streaming is about going deep. And that's something that that really drew me in for like going live with people.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it's funny that sometimes when there's only a few people on, it can be a much more engaging, beautiful experience than when there's hundreds of people on. So definitely. So why YouTube, out of curiosity? So when you were thinking through like where you wanted to go live or how you wanted to approach it, what interested you about YouTube?
Because one, Facebook for me personally just was not I just didn't connect with it. I didn't connect with any other platforms for real. Like YouTube would be my bread and butter. That's where I would go to learn stuff and where I would go to connect with people. And then too, once you started, get some videos that are doing a little bit better and stuff, you develop an audience there. And so that's where my people were. And so once I decided to go live there, it really it clicked a switch in my mind. Once I for real started not just uploading videos for the sake of using YouTube as a place to save my videos, but I'm like, it's real people here. It's real people that are online literally all the time. And so I was like, I want to start building something here. It may go away someday, or it may change in a way that it's not used in the same way. But I was like, present tense for what I'm experiencing and where I am. I was like, I want to do this YouTube thing and start to figure this out. So that's kind of what prompted me to go ahead and just start diving in again. When nobody's showing up, when it's just you trying to figure out what you need to say or what you want to do or what the setup is, it's this is where I'm going to start building. Yeah,
definitely. I got to share this one. Lauren says that you are dang good on camera. Plain and simple. I love it, Lauren. Thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for tuning in. All right, Diana. So what should people be considering when they're going live? So why should people get involved in live video? Why live?
So I think live streaming, again, it's not so much so about the reach. Can you, have live where, and I think this is something people could look into a little bit more, where you're ranking a video in real time with those real tags, and that's going to hit in a very different way. But I think for regardless as to your audience size, everybody wants a Me Too factor. Everybody wants that personability factor that you're not going to get with anybody else, honestly, because maybe it could be a bigger channel. It could be a better brand, a more expensive brand, or more of whatever that you feel like is not good enough for whatever it is that you're doing. You definitely need to start doing live streaming and live content because, again, it's deeper reaching in the way that nothing else really can be except spending one-to-one time with people belly to belly in person. And so when you're doing live streams, you now instantly get a chance to connect with people in that same belly to belly experience, but virtually. And so it gets to be a relationship that you develop. And I think that's the key word there. It gets to be a relationship that you develop with a massive amount of people in a short amount of time that, you know what I'm saying? It just is not a way to measure what that experience can be to that end result user, whether it's a product that you're selling or a service, or if it's just a nonprofit or whatever. I think nothing compares to what live video can do.
Yeah, that whole community aspect and being able to bring people together, I think, is just hugely powerful and always kind of blows me away, where you're, you know, people from all over the place and the relationships that build with people that you don't like actually know, but really, really do know is kind of awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, even like, so like I'm traveling more, going to events more and stuff like that. Again, like, regardless as to your audience size or what you think, it's like the thing I've found like to be most interesting, you get to learn about different people. So I talk about like camera tech tutorial stuff for like small business and video marketing, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it's like I now know what somebody's using. So when I saw them in person, it's like you're picking up from a conversation that you started online, or you're picking up and now you really, really go deeper in a way that none of your other competitors may be able to do, or anybody else in your field has the ability to do, because they haven't been having that consistent conversation with somebody in their audience. Or I can say, hey, how's your husband, Jim, or whatever, that they don't even know that you were married, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it just takes things to a whole nother level. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm sure, especially if you're making recommendations on, you know, pieces of equipment are really expensive. I was watching. I was watching your video from yesterday, and what's kind of cool about it is that if you're constantly talking to people and you're broadcasting live, you're building up that level of trust. And so when people are listening to what you're saying, you know, I think that there's a level of authenticity and trust that makes it easier for them to take a recommendation from you than it would be for them to just be, you know, out Google searching different things, or, you know, reading it in a blog post, like actually seeing a piece of equipment and how it's working for someone else, and then getting that recommendation, or, you know, or hearing it directly from someone, I think goes a really long way.
Absolutely.
And you were just telling me we need to get pink lights here in the office, because I'm going to do a crafting project with some lighting, because it's amazing when you see something, you know, else in someone's video, you're like, oh, that's so cool. I should definitely check that out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, it's like, so with going live, for example, is a guy named Rob Fuzz, or that's his like channel name or whatever on YouTube. And so like I can talk to Rob. I've recently met Rob on the channel, subscribed a couple months ago or whatever, but it's like I know what camera that he bought. And so it's like conversations like those, or like the lights, and it's just like, hey, how do you do this? Or they catch me when I'm on Instagram. And that turns into now all of a sudden it's just like, oh, let me show you. And I take my phone and be like, so here's the hack. It's a $2 little film thing with a regular light, and it turns the background a different color for $2. And it's just like, are you serious? And just like, yeah, that's what it is. And then it's just like, you know, it's just, again, those relationships that you can develop with people, you now mean so much more to that person than the other person that just says, hey, go buy this camera. Because even like you mentioned, like the live stream I just did yesterday, even when I'm talking about a camera, $300, $400, $500, $600, in excess of $1,000, that's a big investment. So huge, so like when you're carrying somebody through that purchasing experience, far beyond what a review video did, you just like that know, like, and trust factor goes to a whole nother level, and not for any real marketing purposes, but just, again, in a trust factor, because you really want your people to feel like they're your people and not like you're just another Amazon associate purchase that came through, you know, randomly. Like, okay, I can support you in whatever it is that you did. So that's just like the aspect that I take on it anyway, you know. Yeah.
So let's talk equipment for a little bit then, because everyone always loves to hear kind of how studios are set up. So how How did you, when you were first getting started, you said you started originally with your Logitech webcam. How did you make decisions on when was the best time to build up to a new camera or a new computer or a new piece of equipment? What do you have now, and how did you work your way up to it?
Okay. So first live stream was on a phone. Looked terrible. Yeah, it looked terrible, but I'm saying looked terrible because I didn't have proper lighting. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing, or my best investment thus far, and I'm still using that setup now, as far as like the softbox light, $60 softbox lights from Amazon, nothing special, but just learning to use like the phone didn't do that well, or this is, I noticed some of the things that I had wrong with it. And so I went to look into what people are using. Webcams are easy, USB, it'll work for anybody. So that's kind of something that I wanted. I don't want to think too hard. I don't want to, get stressed out about what it can or can't do. Web camera that I saw, which was the Logitech C920, it worked perfectly. And then the other microphone that I even more recently have switched from, but I still use constantly, was the Audio Technica ATR 2100 microphone. And that may sound like, a different language to a lot of people, but again, $60 microphone. So for $120, way cheaper now. $120 I had, or a little bit more when you count the $60 light, softbox lights in there. But for very minimal setup, I use that for regular videos. Even now, I'll sneak that in for a regular video, and nobody can tell the difference. They never comment on like it looks worse than whatever or anything. So that's where I started, and that's where I stayed for a very long time. It wasn't until I decided that I wanted to buy a dedicated camera for video that I was like, okay, now how can I use what I'm already buying in addition to the stuff that I already have? And that was the thought process that I went into it with. So once I got to the point to where I got a camera that I could use for live streaming, which really I probably used my Logitech up until I bought the Canon M50 maybe about a year or so ago. I used that, and that was it. I would live stream with that Logitech C920, that ATR 2100 microphone, and that's what I used up until about 2 years ago. And then I went from the M50 to now what I'm using, which is the Sony A6400, same $60 softbox light, because they work like a champ. Awesome. Never messed to travel the world and no problems. But now using the Samsung Q2U microphone, which is very similar, just a little bit different of microphone I wanted to try and ended up liking. But honestly, I could still use that Audio Technica mic and it will work fine. And this is another $60 microphone. So outside of the camera, solely for some other video work that I'm starting to do, like this is like my little M50 has, even up until yesterday, I think is what I used on the live stream. Little M50 web camera is what works. So I just I don't want to have to buy every little thing, Now, granted, I have a tech buying problem.
Don't we all?
Like I was telling my friend, is just like, hey, so here's something that recently came up. I'm going to use you and a podcast that we're starting as the reason why we need this thing. So just know that this is feeding my problem. But it's just like, at the time, you don't have money for that stuff. No. Who knows what, bills you're taking away from or other things you need for life. And it's just like, I wanted the one-time investment to stretch. So that's kind of like how I picked what I started using. Still continue to use throughout the week. I'll still use this webcam for meetings and stuff. And then, my other cameras for other things. But that's kind of like how that spread happened, just real recently upgrading to, I guess, a little bit of a better setup.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. Do you travel with your setup, or do you have it basically just set in the studio and that's where you do your live?
So I keep a Amazon Basics tripod that I have set up, even right now that it's sitting on. That stays there. I now use the same softbox light. I keep one at least place where I have it now, so I never have to move it. And yeah, just like I don't care what I'm buying or where I move. I never want to get to the point to where I'm adding more work, and you don't need to, because when you have an idea, something happened or something gets released, some big news in your industry, you just want to sit down and hit record, or you just want to sit down and do whatever. That's why I keep the same setup with the bookshelf. I even took a little Sharpie marker, which is a hack. If you're in the same spot, a little Sharpie or a marker or whatever, those will come up off the floor, but just mark where the tripod needs to be, and that's
cool.
the perfect place for it to be. Yeah, just like, so if I need to set up the other tripod, I just sit it in those little circles, and I have a line drawn on how high it needs to be. Like, I call it my RTE, or record to edit process, which is what are the things that I need for me to just sit down and press record. If I just came from out of town, something happened, what do I need to just sit down and press record? And I came up with that record to edit process, where if I'm in this setting, what is the numbers need to be on the camera? It could be a little post-it note or whatever to just kind of help you remember. Set the ISO here, turn the lights and place them here. Same little circles on the floor for where the light stand needs to be.
I love that.
And it's like, yeah, so I don't want to think that much. And so you get a consistent look just by figuring out what that little process should be for wherever it is that you are. So even if you got to take it down, you know where to put it back, and you don't have to think twice about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an awesome hack. It takes me back to like theater days where it's like you're marked right here. I mean, absolutely.
Little gaff tape on the stage. I was in, I guess you still are, at the Thespian Society in high school, so I know all about that.
All right, Prima wants to know if you use chroma key. Do you use a green screen? Nope.
So I just moved my bag from back there. If that's what it was, it's like, it'd be a bag back there. If it was a sock back there, that's what it would be. But no chroma key. No.
Authenticity is key.
Yeah, that's what it is. No chroma key, no green screens, none of that stuff. Just as simple.
Oh, one more question. All right.
Okay.
Prima beat me to it. What are your favorite Ecamm Live features?
Okay. Alrighty. Enhance my calm. So I love, the one thing is like for one, it would be like the user interface. So the biggest thing, like at the time I was looking at this other program, it's free. A lot of people know about it, and they would use it. But I'm a tech person, and it's really, 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 really techy. And I don't like that because it's not teachable. It's not duplicatable. It's not scalable. If I need to teach somebody on how to do it, it wasn't easy. If I wanted to bring in my little 14-year-old nephew and say, hey, you want to be a YouTuber for a day, come be, my second person and do this thing or whatever, Ecamm Live was the thing I saw that you could use. So it would have to be the user interface. Like, I can audio little box is over here. This little box for that is over here. If I need slides or, I just want to bring up some JPEGs to mimic slides, then I can put those over there. It was real simple. Second favorite feature would be the integration with like the Canon cameras. When you guys came up with the USB, I'm telling y'all, I've talked about this numerous amount of times on my channel. You could plug and play a USB cable, the phone cable we all would throw away for an Android phone. That cable is all that you need to save lives in America. Do you hear me? So I was like, it's a game changer with that, because it's like you literally don't have to worry about any limitations that the camera may have, especially like the M50. You would lose autofocus. Now you can keep autofocus. You can change your settings. Like, that is by far my most favorite one, because you didn't have to do anything but plug it in, and that was it. And so it took all the heavy lifting, like for everything. So by far that would be the one, for sure, like top of mind. Like it just freaking works. And then like the third thing would be all of the pro level features that you're getting, and like you don't need to be a professional video person. Like, you can make your stream. Like, I did one with my friend for an event that she had coming up, and I told her how to do it, and she could run it, and she's not a tech person. And I was like, that's amazing, because it removes a lot of barriers. But, that would be like, I say, like my top 3 for sure.
Awesome. I love it. Prima's continuing on with questions, so we're going to rock them. Let's
good.
Move through. Do you have any tips for creating scenes?
Yes, I do. So if you're going to be creating a scene, figure out what all goes into that scene. And that could seem a little elementary, but when you pre-think out what everything should be, what are all the things that you want to do, I always think in my RTE, or that record to edit process. And so it's the same thing with, like, instead of recording, it's like, what is that process for me to live stream? It's just like in that same methodical thing. What order am I going to be talking about stuff? And it could be just something as simple as a Post-it note. What order am I going to be talking about something? What order do I want to show things up in? And so create a folder around that scene in that way. So and number it, number 1, number 2, number 3. I don't like anything that's too complex to teach somebody else in 30 seconds. I really don't like it, because it just gets to be too complex, too confusing. And should anything in that process break, the whole system now is broken, or the whole show is screwed. So if, like, I always start with a blank folder and I think through what's the very first thing that I want, maybe my intro, and I'm making it stupid simple. So even if I got a headache, even if I'm tired, I can run this show in a numbered order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, literally just like that. So that's how I create scenes. So whether it's my like Friday live show that I'm going to do, those are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from, beginning to end. If, like, when I needed to do one with my friend for her event, and we're going through like 3 tips on how to do X, Y, and Z, same exact thing. So everything is in that folder, numbered. So no matter what, you know where the next thing is that you're going to.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that it was mind-blowing for me that you could really use your scenes to create the flow of your live video, and that makes it so much easier, especially if you're newer to it and you're kind of having moments of what next, what do I have to do next? Even just having the scenes window open and being able to see, like, okay, the next thing we're going into is this. It's really nice and convenient.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Pre-Med, keep those questions coming, and I'll continue going through mine. So how did you first hear about Ecamm Live?
I would say I would give that credit to Justin Brown of Primal Video. And so I didn't have a Mac at the time. I was pure PC all my life. And I was just like, man, I got to get a Mac, if nothing else, for Final Cut Pro 10 and Ecamm. I'm not joking. And so it was right before the switch from it being like a one set price. I think it used to be as cheap as $29 or $39. And I'm like, I am not finna let me not knowing how to use a Mac computer make me miss. And then it went up to like $79. And I'm like, oh my Lord, hurry up and buy a Mac now. And so I did. I went out, I bought a Mac solely for those 2 things. And because I'm like, there's nothing else like it. Everything else was far more complex. And it just would not, you know what I'm saying? It's not teachable. It's not like in a very easy way. It's all these hacks and, you got to think about that. I don't want to do that. And nobody else wants to either. So, it's just like, so I'm like, I'm getting a Mac so I can get Ecamm Live and Final Cut Pro 10. And so that's how I heard about it. So kudos to you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Justin's definitely one of our favorite people. We really love all of his videos.
Yeah, he's amazing.
All right, Walter wants to know if you have any tips on monetizing your streams.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I think when you're doing like your live streams, as far as like marketing your business, have a full plan. Most people try to go into one video like it should just like be the wow factor and just like a punch in the throat and then money falls out. Like, it doesn't work like that. And so streams are something, again, this is something that you have to think about consistently over time. How do you want to do this? So I'm of the perspective that you need to bring value first, long before you ever ask for anything. And so you have stuff like super chats that are becoming more popular, and other stuff like that. And most people want to leave out a live stream with $1,000 or $500 from super chats. Yes, that's possible, and yes, that does happen on some streams, but that comes only second to bringing a lot of value before. So you have to figure out what that strategy is on, if it's a 5-step something on what I want to teach. What were the 4 videos before that make it just like drooling, dripping amazing when I get ready to go live and I'm going to talk about it or incorporate more of a live conversation, to now where, one, you get super chats, or it becomes something now that's sellable. And so I think Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that as the jab, 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 right hook in his book. Yeah. Like, so many jabs of like giving value, giving value, giving value. And then by the time I come online and I'm saying, hey guys, we are launching with a $97 course, blah, 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 the sales are undeniable because you have already proven and shown yourself to be somebody that they know that they can trust. You're going to continue to bring value. You're going to continue to do whatever. And so that's more of the long game. So that's how you monetize your streams overall, but that's a duplicatable process. And I don't like to do a whole lot of anything that's like a one and done, because it's one and then it's done and there's nothing else that you can do about it. So when you're monetizing your content overall, your streams has to be something that when you go live or when you're showing up, your people are genuinely excited to engage with you. So money is the least of their problems. So when you offer something, they like, oh yeah, I know that this person is going to deliver, or I know I'm going to be getting more. Like it's undeniable. And I think that's the big thing with monetizing your streams in general. What's the thing that you can offer them or share with them, bring to the table at the point now that you're showing up that you begin to make money? And if it is something like where you want to like maybe do a paid masterclass, again, that what you have to think about, like what's the thing that you're going to sell, and then reverse engineer what are those previous pieces of content that you're going to offer that now makes it make sense that when you get to the live stream or you get to that paid masterclass, it absolutely makes sense. So one quick example of that. I was teaching on like a WordPress masterclass or something like that. And because I was going to be an affiliate for Bluehost at the time, WordPress is something that's super difficult. Yeah, it's a lot of tutorials out there, but you have stuff out of order or things that are in a way that don't make sense to the end result user. So think through what's the challenges or something that somebody's going through. Okay, you're going to buy this website, you're going to get this package, and you're not going to know what to do with it. So when somebody would purchase through my link or purchase through my affiliate link, and they would send confirmation that, you know, hey, here's the screenshot of whatever, and I could verify that they actually bought through my link, then that's one way, a nice chunk of change that you're going to bring in, and then you bring value on the end of it. So you just have to think through what's that customer journey that you're taking them through that results in some money for either you and some value to that person or something. And yeah, do something that's going to make that person some money on the other end so that they can start to see some return on their investment, whether it's an investment of time or an investment in a course or whatever. Think through like that whole process and then just reverse engineer from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that always having that focus on helpful content and how you can really help people goes a really long way. Because if you might be able to convince them to do a quick buy, but if you really want to be able to build a long-lasting relationship with your customers, you're going to need to make sure that they understand what they're buying and are seeing value in it and are really able to use it for sure. Yeah. All right.
And then, you got some more questions?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And I was just going to say, and then too, that's how you prevent from having, especially if you're having people buy something or whatever, that's how you prevent from having returns.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I haven't sold anything where I've had to deal with like a influx of returns or, all of that stuff, because when you come up with that process, you think through what that customer journey is. They're not just sold, they are confident in whatever it is that they just dropped money on, whether it's $27 or $97 or $297. Whatever that thing is that you're offering, that's how you prevent people from having to feel any kind of worry or man, I got to make sure this 14-day trial or I got to make sure this 30-day trial. You've already brought so much value. They know you, they like you, they trust you. And furthermore, they're starting to love you, which is not something that you can buy. So when they drop money, they don't even care how long it takes them. They just know I'm going to get my money's worth because I know you put way over and above whatever I spent this $ on to give me this value for whatever that thing is. And like I said, it's a little bit of a long answer, but video is already the shortcut to the shortcut. So if you're going to be doing any form of video, live stream or otherwise, that's what I would say to do. Just think through that whole process for them.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. Just continuing, it's good questions here. Oh.
Awesome.
I lost my mouse, but Prima says, please explain RTE, the record to edit process.
Okay. So when you walk into a room, wherever it is, it could be the corner of your living room or dining room, or even if you have a dedicated space like I do, when you first walk in, what are the things that, where are you going to be recording at? And then what are the things that you need to record? So the record to edit process means that I want my recording process so lined up with my editing process that I'm really not having to spend a ton of time in editing.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the biggest hangups that I find, like when I'm working with clients, or, working through somebody, they're asking me a bunch of questions on things. You make the recording process so complex. You have 1,000 hours of footage to go through for a 10-minute video. It's like, why? You don't need to do that. Like, save yourself the headache. Only record what you need to record by only doing the things that you need to do when you're recording. So what I mean by that is, where does the tripod, one's doing the heavy lifting with the thinking. Where does the tripod need to be? What lens are you using? You literally could write this down on a piece of paper. What settings should your camera be on? Like, you did a video right one time, you never should have to think twice about it again. Like, what was the ISO? What was the aperture? What lens did you use? Like, every little thing. What cord did I use? What outlet did I use? What were all the things that worked? Where were the lights at? And that's why I say, even down to the nuances of drawing a line on the floor or using tape and marking that off. So that's starting that record to edit process. So now once you sit down and you begin to go through whatever outline that you have for your video, it may be something as simple as, for me, I'll do something like this, and I'll hold my hand up to it so I know any of those frames in the video that I see with my hands up, that means I messed up. I don't want whatever is in front of my hands. And so now I'm recording my videos in a way that helps me to edit these videos faster, which means I can deliver the content faster.
That's awesome.
You can get to whatever else that you're trying to do faster, all of that. Even down to what number, as far as the recording volume on the camera, should that be at? Should it be at 16, or is 16 too loud? Should it be at 12? Like, everything is all, well, once you do it right one time, you never should have to think twice about it again. Because a lot of what happens when you're new to doing videos or even live streaming, this is the exact same process. I know my audio volume in Ecamm Live is going to be at 67% every single time when I'm getting it. I can tell you where the tripod is going to be. It's the exact same process. So that RTE, or record to edit process, is simply making life easier for you. So even if you just put your kids down to bed, or you got a toddler and you gave them some NyQuil, you know. You know where exactly, like, in 30 minutes, you can crank out a video, because this process has helped you to, like, really, really simplify what may be a headache for you. But it's just like, I know this worked the last time. I'm going to keep doing this, and maybe along the way I can make some minor tweaks for something that works. So now when you get ready to edit, or you get ready to put your videos together, even with those folder systems that I talked about, that's something, if I want to take that video from Ecamm and edit it, it's already in a way that makes sense. I know the first is going to be the pre-roll, and then it's going to be the intro, and then it's going to be welcoming people, and then it's going to be getting to the slides, and then it's going to be going back to the chat and answering some more questions, and it's going to be the outro screen. And that's literally how my streams are set up for, when I'm doing a show, whatever it is. It's the same kind of record to edit process, or live stream to potentially edit process, so that you have a more or less a formula for yourself, for your space, for what you're doing all the time, every time.
That's awesome. I never really thought about it that way, but that makes a ton of sense. I think I know I certainly spend more time than I probably should going through videos trying to find, like, sound bites or sound clips or places that I want to chop it up, and having even some of those visual cues on site would make a huge difference. So definitely, time savers go a long way. Alex agrees.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's like, and the way I came up with that was just working. At the time, I was still working a full-time job. And so you work all day long, you're tired. And like I said, if you have any other areas of life going on, by the time you get a moment to record, maybe you have an hour, maybe. You don't have time to rethink through, oh, crap, I forgot I went and took pictures at the park, and now I don't remember what stuff should have been when I want to record in the corner of the living room. So you can come up with this process for when you want to record in the living room, when you want to record in the dining room, when you want to record in the kitchen or whatever. And so now you create these scenes, kind of like you can do at Ecamm Live. You create this record to edit process, or these scenes. So it's like, I can look at my paper and I know the settings should be this in this area of the house, and it should be these settings in that area of the house. And just so you don't have to think as much, you can literally just sit down, deliver your content, and move on with life.
Awesome. I love it. My new favorite process. Well, we are nearing our end. Are there any other questions out there anyone has for Diana? Or Diana, anything else that you want to add? Any projects you're working on people should be aware of? Where can we find your stuff?
You can find me at dianagladney.com, and then of course on YouTube, which my channel is called Entree Woman TV. And it's just again about helping you move your vision forward using video. I recently just came back from the Grow with Video live experience in Las Vegas, so that was the biggest trip that I had this year
Cool.
so far. So yeah, with Sean Cannell with Think Media, and I'm so honored, to be working with them and their team. And that's just kind of which is kind of starting to get into like I have a couple more projects coming up for the year, a trip to Iowa,
Awesome.
and then it's like holiday turkeys and cranberry sauce.
I love it. A
So,
well-deserved break.
oh yeah, that's all I'm looking for. I'm thinking turkey, cranberry sauce.
I love it. Thanksgiving for sure.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
thank you so much, Diana, for coming on and making the time. We really appreciate it. We will post links in the description and in the comments if anyone wants to find you. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Katie. The whole Ecamm Live team. Love you guys so much. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.